Let's see. What is it that they say when they want to start a story? Oh, yeah. Once upon a time. Once upon a time, there was a strong, tall, handsome, non-practicing Catholic, Latino, 28-year-old police officer named Michael. Did I catch your attention yet? Well, I hope so. Michael was a good student and the first in his family to receive a high school diploma. He graduated from Hamilton High School in Los Angeles. After high school, he decided to enlist in the Marine Corps. He was part of the Combat Arms Unit, and before being deployed, he and his high school sweetheart got married. Everyone say it with me. Aww. He was sent to fight on the front lines of Afghanistan. About 2 weeks into the mission, he and his unit were victims of an ambush. He was shot in the leg and witnessed his friend and fellow Marine die. When Michael returned home, he decided he was going to continue with the Corps values. Honor, value, resilience. He made it his mission to transition into civilian life with ease. He joined the LAPD within 3 months of his return. Michael was feeling very good about his life. He was in the middle class. He was happily married. And he was living in Long Beach. But one night, everything changed. It was a rainy, cold night. There was this strange feeling in the air when it happened. Doing a routine patrol of the area, and as they were stopped at a traffic light, as cops usually do, they ran the plates of the car in front of them. The report came back as the vehicle being stolen. Sirens immediately flared. The driver sped off. It was a pursuit. Speeds raced up to 80 miles per hour through the streets of South Central. 10 minutes into the chase, the suspect began to slow down at the intersection of Figueroa and Adams. And soon enough, he exited the vehicle and fired 2 shots. Nah, just kidding. That's not even close to what really happened. So what really happened, if you may ask? It was actually as simple as one night during a routine patrol of the neighborhood, a quiet neighborhood. And shots were heard nearby when suddenly flashbacks of his ambush began. It was happening. PTSD symptoms began. Sorry, I know the first version sounded just so much better, but it was just something of an event that simple that happened. Anyways, back to Michael. He began to have common PTSD symptoms, and here they were. One of them was nightmares. Then there was flashbacks. And he was experiencing uncontrollably scary thoughts. And he was feeling worried and guilty and sad. And not to mention, he had so many sleepless nights. His levels of anxiety started to increase. And sometimes he would have angry outbursts. And not to mention, too, he really didn't want to talk about the event at all. In fact, he never did and never wanted to. So it was no surprise when the captain called him in, placed him on desk assignment until he received counseling and began treatment for the symptoms related to PTSD. Michael, having been part of the few, the proud, the Marines, wasn't having it. He'll get over it, he thought. But instead, symptoms increased. He struggled with the idea of counseling because, you see, in the court, he was taught to have courage and fight. Ugh. And now he was going to have to talk about his feelings? Really? But seeing as it was starting to affect his relationship with his wife, he realized he loved her too much and he would seek some help. He began researching and completing article reviews on the different studies he found. You see, his wife was a student at Mount St. Mary's and took a course called Applying Research to Practice with Dr. Habibi. Being the supportive husband, he couldn't just see his wife struggle with the difficult assignments, so he naturally helped his wife. Together, they spent countless hours and sleepless nights to complete the 5 article reviews required for the class. Obviously, along the way, he learned to do them too. So going back to his findings, he concluded 2 possible treatments. 1, an approach to cognitive processing therapy, is one called script-driven imagery, and the other treatment that he was going to research was group therapy, with an emphasis on some social support. And for those of you that aren't familiar with either, don't worry, we'll give you a quick lesson. Script-driven imagery, SDI, is when the trauma is written down and then the therapist reformats it into a narrative script. Then it's recorded into a 30-second audio, and while the audio is playing, the client listens. After the audio is done, for another 30 seconds, the client imagines the event taking place. After between 8 to 12 sessions, 60 minutes apiece, this treatment was actually shown to be effective in decreasing symptoms. The constant listening and images have demonstrated and allowed the client to confront some of these avoidant issues. And it offered pre-exposure to anxious reactivity, and lastly, minimized the intensity of the traumatic event. Script-driven imagery has been practiced using various types, with the format remaining the same, such as sometimes the recording of imagery is recorded to 2 minutes instead of 30 seconds. And sometimes the format changes the end of the script overall, allowing to a more productive, idealistic ending. Now that was just one. The second treatment is called group therapy, and it would involve 6 to 8 veterans all suffering with PTSD for 10 to 12 sessions of 60 minutes. Here, approaches were more focused on social support and constantly disclosure of the traumatic event with members of the therapy group, with social support too, and these things, consisted of family and friends. Again, group therapy was found to reduce symptoms, and there was a greater disclosure and positive emotion with this social support. Obviously, after Michael shared the options and benefit to each treatment, his wife and him finally made a decision. Now, we're going to stop the tape and let's see what you guys think and which treatment might be best for him. Anybody? All right, the option they chose was group therapy. And yes, this treatment helped Michael with decreasing symptoms. And he communicated so much more about what he was feeling. The wife was happy, and so was Michael. Soon enough, he returned to patrolling and keeping the streets of South Central Los Angeles safe and secure. The end. Oh, and if you're ever pulled over by Michael, please don't tell him I told you the story. He doesn't like to share his story with everyone. Okay, now, the end.